We are proud to present Ms. Stafford with this year's Sheehan Award, and now let's welcome her to the stage. Here's the award. Come up from the office.
Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you. Wow. Thank you. I want to start by thanking the National Press Club for this incredible honor, named after two journalists whose work and commitment to investigative journalism serves as a guiding light for us all. I also want to thank my family for their unwavering support throughout my career, including my amazing sister who is here tonight, and my husband and our family who are watching at home. People often ask why I became a journalist. My journalism journey began decades ago in Detroit with my father, who ran our neighborhood block club at the time. He paid close attention to news coverage and decisions that impacted our neighborhood, which had been affected by decades of inequities and the enduring legacy of structural racism, struggles that continue today. We often visited a nearby printing plant where our community newsletters were made. I loved feeling the glossy pages in my hand, but I was mesmerized by the photos and the write-ups that captured the richness and fabric of our community. But that newsletter was in part born out of frustration. My parents grew up in a segregated America, where unequal access to housing, education, healthcare, economic opportunities was profound. They felt news coverage didn't fully reflect our community's experiences, so the neighborhood launched a newsletter to stay informed of its challenges, but also the beauty of living in one of the nation's largest Black majority cities. The newsletter no longer exists, but it was life-changing for me. It planted a seed of hope and a dream I've been able to realize. From a very young age, I wanted to become a journalist, one who reported stories for communities that look like mine, not just about them. There's a difference. I stand before you today on the shoulders of journalism pioneers who embodied this lens of journalism. Journalists like Ida B. Wells, an investigative journalist whose groundbreaking reporting uncovered the horrific lynchings of Black men. Her fearless journalism continues to inspire many today. She once said, "The way to right wrongs is to turn the light of truth upon them." I became an investigative journalist just to do that, to shed light on wrongdoing, report the truth. But at the heart of that, it has meant intentionally amplifying the voices of communities and people who have long been underserved and historically excluded by our government, institutions, political leaders, and by our very own industry. I've spent my career reporting on the impact of structural racism, but at the start of the COVID-19 pandemic, it became very clear that communities of color were being disparately impacted. I found myself wondering how we got to this point in our nation where even amid a global pandemic that devastated everyone across the world, stark inequities still managed to emerge. I set out to answer that question with my project From Birth to Death, which investigated how and why generations of Black Americans have endured health inequities from our first breath of life until our last. We interviewed dozens of experts, doctors, families, historians, political leaders, scoured decades of old newspaper clippings and analyzed data, which allowed us to make bold, fact-based statements about how the legacy of slavery helped lay the foundation for health inequities Black Americans continue to face today. That project, though, was made possible because of the University of Michigan's Knight Wallace Fellowship. Lynette Clementson, the director of the Wallace House Center for Journalists, and Robert Yoon, the former associate director of Wallace House, supported my ambitious idea to travel across the country to tell stories through the eyes of 5 communities and families. They're both here tonight. Thank you. They are the embodiment of what it means to truly invest in the next generation of journalists in equitable and reflective investigative journalism. Thank you, Lynette and Robert, and the entire Wallace House staff for creating a safe space and a transformative experience. It was also possible because of my former AP colleagues and editors, including Andel Gross, Ron Nixon, and Anna Jo Bratton, and many others who brought such an incredible level of dedication, support, and grace to our storytelling. This project was special because it was led by 4 women of color: Noreen Nasser, May E. Wong, Annie Ma, and myself. This award also honors the families who entrusted us to share their stories. They recounted traumatic and heartbreaking experiences that they endure via our nation's healthcare system and other institutions. I'm proud we also captured their joy, though, what it means to be a family, sisterhood, and Black fatherhood. Upon publication, the families said they felt seen, heard in a way that they didn't think was possible for someone who looked like them. I think often of Melanie's Mark Thomas, whose husband, Charles Thomas, died of COVID complications in 2021. She wanted the world to know her husband was more than just a COVID statistic. She implored us to show the depth of his humanity, the complexities of what it meant to be a Black man in America. When the project published, she said, quote, "You make me feel safe to tell my story, my husband's story, my family and community story." For me, that's what journalism is about. As the global race and justice editor at Reuters, I'm amazed every day by our global footprint of more than 2,500 journalists located in 200 locations around the world. Their commitment to reporting the truth and Reuters' dedication to making sure our coverage reflects the world around us is inspiring and more important than ever. But I'm also inspired by Mary Ann Shadd Curry, who in the 1800s became the first Black female newspaper publisher in North America. She once said, "To colored women, we have a word. We have broken the editorial ice for your class in America. So go to editing, as many of you as are willing and able." I thought of her message today, and as I stepped into newsroom leadership, I was reminded how important it is to not just have a seat at the table, but to be firmly at the highest heights of newsroom leadership. But my path into this field, specifically investigative journalism, was not easy. There was a point in time where I wasn't quite sure whether there was even a place for someone like me to do this work. It remains, unfortunately, all too rare to see Black investigative journalists in many of our legacy newsrooms. Yet along the way, I have had many mentors and editors who took the time to invest in me. I've tried to pay that forward by mentoring younger journalists who will carry the journalism baton onward. I want to end by urging everyone to think about what your newsroom looks like. What opportunities have you created for journalists of color and those from other underrepresented communities? Who gets the prime beats in your newsroom? Who encompasses your international teams? Who makes the decisions of what gets covered and whose voices and perspectives are amplified? Does your newsroom reflect the nation, the world, or the community that you're tasked with covering? There is no pipeline issue from underrepresented communities. Thank you. All they need, all we need, is opportunity, investment, mentorship, a defined pathway to be welcomed into newsrooms where their perspectives and expertise are valued, not brushed aside or questioned. We are living in unprecedented times right now where our journalism is being questioned, where journalists are being targeted, jailed, killed for simply reporting the truth. We must usher in the next generation of journalists who can continue our work and reflect the world around us, and support those who are here now and honor the memory of those we've lost. So I'm focused on my next dream now, which is leaving the industry hopefully in a much better place, reflective and equitable than when I entered. I want that next little girl from Detroit and beyond to see us, this room, our profession, and never have to question whether she has a place in it. I want her to know she too belongs and that her lived experiences, perspectives, and talent are absolutely vital to the future of our industry. Thank you.